Good morning, everybody. Hope you're keeping well. One thing just to announce to folks you may have seen already on our Facebook page, we mentioned that we've taken a decision in consultation with Presbyterian Churches Council for Mission in Ireland to place Paula Burrows on the furlough scheme for the next 3 weeks at least, and that's from today until the end of June. So Paula will not be financially affected by that, but there are rule changes coming that mean that we probably needed to access that scheme now, so that any further help in the future might also be available to us. So that's why we've decided to take that step now. So continue to pray for Paula and the family at the moment, but Paula will not be doing any work around the congregation from today until the end of June. And again, continue to appreciate your prayers as we continue to try and work through this time as a congregation. We are going to read from Psalm 21, and let me read it to you just now. O Lord, in your strength the King rejoices, and in your salvation how greatly he exults. You have given him his heart's desire, and have not withheld the request of his lips. For you meet him with rich blessings. You set a crown of fine gold upon his head. He asked life of you, you gave it to him, length of days forever and ever. His glory is great through your salvation. Splendor and majesty you bestow on him, for you make him most blessed forever. You make him glad with the joy of your presence. For the King trusts in the Lord, and through the steadfast love of the Most High he shall not be moved. Your hand will find out all your enemies. Your right hand will find out those who hate you. You will make them as a blazing oven when you appear. The Lord will swallow them up in his wrath, and fire will consume them. You will destroy their descendants from the earth, and their offspring from among the children of man. Though they plan evil against you, though they devise mischief, they will not succeed. For you will put them to flight. You will aim at their faces with your bows. Be exalted, O Lord, in your strength. We will sing and praise your power. This psalm follows on, in a sense, from Psalm 20, where we're encouraged to put our trust in the name of the Lord, and we've seen the King seek God's help, God's salvation for him. And here in this psalm it continues this, because here we see the Lord answered his anointed king. He did rescue him, and he did bring salvation. And as we look at it, we immediately think it's a psalm of David. And of course, David was God's anointed king over Israel. And a lot of the things that are in here, yes, could apply to David. In terms of victory and blessings and the crown of Israel and all of those things. But length of days forever and ever are mentioned in here. Well, I don't think David expected not to die. And most blessed forever. There is an eternal aspect to this psalm which takes us out of the David image and draws our attention, or points us towards another and greater king. The king that these verses 1 to 7 of this psalm fit pretty much exactly, our King Jesus. God gives him his heart's desire, which is us, which is the people for whom he died. God crowned him as king after he had humbled himself and emptied himself for us. God then raised him and lifted him to the place where his name is above every name. God gave to him life forever, having conquered the grave and risen to new and eternal life. God gives him glory and splendor and majesty beyond anything we can imagine, so that when John sees the risen Christ in the book of Revelation, he falls at his feet as though dead, because the glory and the majesty and the splendor before him are like nothing he's ever seen. He is the one who is blessed forever. His name is blessed across the globe and will be blessed forevermore. He is the one in whom there is joy. He is the one in whom there is such great love. But this king is also the king who judges. And the second half of the psalm talks about judgment being meted out on behalf of this king. Evil and hatred and oppression and injustice being put to flight because of what God has done through this king. And those verses, if we're honest, they trouble us because they seem to us extreme, talking about swallowing up his enemies in his wrath and his fire consuming them, destroying their descendants from the earth, and so on. That language troubles us. We find it difficult. There's no way around that. We can't, in our 21st century way of thinking, we can't look at those verses and not find them troubling. But yet, we need to think of where we are in relation to this psalm. And we need to ask ourselves what evil, what injustice, what oppression we have actually experienced. Tim Keller, in his devotion on this psalm, puts it this way. He says this: if we have lived comfortable, untroubled lives, these verses may trouble us. To anyone who has experienced injustice or oppression, they are a comfort. Because Jesus will be the infallible judge, we don't have to be. We can let our grudges go and our revenge die. Justice is promised, infallible justice. Justice that will be true, justice that will be sure, justice that will be certain. God promises that, and he promises it to us in Jesus, who is the judge of all the earth. What we need to do is take him at his word. And in these days when injustice is very much in the news, we need to understand that God sees, God knows, and God cares about all injustice. And God will judge, and he will put things right. We need to look to him and trust in him. Trust that you will do that today. Take care. God bless.